Hi there, this is Mr. Kaufman from High Five History. In today's video, I'm going to give you a reading and note-taking strategy called split screen notes. I'm a big believer that anytime you're reading nonfiction, science text, or social studies text, you should be using a reading strategy that will help you understand what it is you're reading, and equally as important, a way to write down the information in some sort of organized way. That way, when you look back on it the next day or 5 days or 1 week after, you don't have to go back and reread the text. You can simply go back and reread your notes. Let's get right into it. Again, this strategy is called split screen notes, and it's a way to take better reading notes. Split screen, the definition is when a screen shows two or more different images, right? And in this case, we're not actually going to use a real screen. We're going to be using our notebook, and we're going to break our notebook into two screens. Now, the purpose, of this strategy is to help you comprehend or understand what you're reading, and also give you an organized way to write down those ideas, so that way you can look back at it in the future. How does it work? Step one, get your materials. You need your reading material, whatever it is that you're reading, some sort of notebook and or piece of paper, and a pencil. In this case, I'm also going to use a ruler to set up my graphic organizer, so that way it is neat, but that's not mandatory. Next step, begin reading. In this case, you're going to read paragraph by paragraph, meaning as you read each paragraph, you want to stop and write down the main idea. And it could be a whole sentence, or if you want, and you can also write a short phrase that represents the main idea of that paragraph. Here are a couple of hints. One, take a look at the topic sentence. Now, it doesn't mean to copy the topic sentence, but the topic sentence will serve, right, as a clue to what the paragraph is going to be about. Also look for ideas or words that are repeated. If it's repeated by the author, that means it's important and it's something that you should know. Now, after you're done reading, so you've read the section, and I wouldn't recommend going a whole chapter, but after a page or 2 pages or after a section, depending on your reading skills and the kind of book you're reading, you want to stop, and you're going to make one drawing, right, for each of your main idea sentences or phrases. Now, this drawing is all about the process, not about the product. So I'll repeat that again. It's about the process, not the product. What that means is your drawing does not need to be beautiful, right? It just needs to represent the idea of what you're reading, right? It's a thinking activity. Now, it's important to note that you don't necessarily need a separate sentence or phrase for each paragraph. Sometimes you'll notice as you're reading, 2 of the paragraphs cover the very similar ideas, and you might find that one topic sentence is enough. And that goes with the drawings as well. You might find that you wrote down 2 separate main idea sentences or phrases, but you feel like one drawing could be used to represent both. These rules are not set, right? They're just guidelines. So you want to make this strategy work for yourself. All right, now let's get out and show you how this strategy works, right? Show you what it looks like. All right, so there I am. You'll notice on the right side I have my pencil and my ruler, and on the left side I have my reading text. First thing I want to do is I'm going to set up my graphic organizer. I'm going to set up a T-chart. You want to split your page right down the middle. Of course, it doesn't need to be exact, but you do need equal room on both sides. All right, I'm done with my ruler now. I can go put that away. On the left side, I'm going to write main idea, and on the right side, drawing. Now I want to put a heading on my graphic organizer. That way when I look back, I know what it's about. In this case, I'm reading section 2, I'm reading section 2. I'm trying to read section 2, Arabia in the 6th century. So let's write this down. Arabia in 6th century. Now you might want to write the page number down or the date or any other organizational thing that'll help your work stay organized. I'm going to leave it just with the heading and the T-chart. That's enough for me. But again, make this strategy your own. Now I'm going to slide this down slightly. I'm going to zoom in a little bit to give you hopefully a better view. Slide this over. Focus it. All right. So I've set my stuff up. Now I'm going to begin reading. Islam has its roots in Arabia, where Muhammad was born. To understand Islam's beginnings, we first need to look at the time period in which Muhammad grew up. All right, so this here is an introduction paragraph. It does have some important details in here, like Arabia and Muhammad, but I'm going to skip it. I'm not going to write down any main ideas, and I'm going to see how these ideas turn up later on. Moving on. The town of Mecca, Muhammad's birthplace, was located in a dry, rocky valley in western Arabia. Mecca did not have agriculture. Instead, it gained wealth as a center of trade. Merchants traveling along caravan routes stopped at the city's market and inns. They bought spices, sheepskins, meat, dates, and other wares from townspeople and nomads. All right, so like I thought, those couple ideas from the first paragraph were repeated in there. And I'm thinking to myself, this paragraph is mostly about, it's about Mecca, how it's the birthplace of Islam, and it was it was not an agricultural city, it was a trading city. So, Mecca, the birthplace of Islam, was a trading city. All right, there's my main idea. Bullet point over there. And now I'm going to move on. By the time that Muhammad was born, Mecca was a prosperous city. Merchant families brought goods into Mecca from faraway places. Merchants grew wealthy through trade with Yemen, southern Arabia, Syria, and kingdoms in Africa. Over time, a handful of families or clans had come to rule the city. These families would not share their fortune with the weaker, poorer clans who lived there. All right, so this paragraph is about how Mecca was prosperous because of its trade, but that the leading clans, the clans that ruled the city, were wealthier. So let's see. Mecca was a wealthy. Notice that I'm going to use my own words. I'm going to replace prosperous with wealthy. Wealthy because it's a word that makes more sense to me. Mecca was a wealthy trading city ruled by the wealthiest clans / families. Like that. Move on. Mecca was also a religious center. According to the Quran, Abraham had built the cube-shaped shrine, the Kaaba, centuries before to honor God. In Muhammad's day, according to Islamic teaching, most Arabs followed polytheism. Polytheism being the study or the belief in multiple gods. And the Kaaba housed hundreds of statues of different gods. Pilgrims from all over Arabia came to worship at Mecca. All right, so the main idea here is that it was a religious center and that people came all over to worship their many gods. So, let's see, Mecca was a religious center. People came from all over to pray to their many gods. All right, moving on. Many Arabs lived a nomadic life in the desert environment. There was no central government in Arabia. Instead, Arabs pledged loyalty to their clans and to the larger tribes. These tribes fought each other to capture territory, animals, goods, watering places, and even wives. When someone from one tribe was killed during a raid, his family was honor-bound to avenge that death. This led to long periods of fighting among tribes. So here this paragraph is about how people were nomadic and that there was fighting for basic goods. People were nomadic and tribes fought with one another over land resources. Now notice here I'm using a slash mark instead of and because I'm taking notes and I'm going to do some shorthand. As you can see, I'm running out of space, so I'm going to go grab my ruler and I'm going to extend that center line down to keep my work nice and organized. Alright, one more paragraph. Although Arabs on the peninsula were not united as a nation, they shared culture ties, especially language. Arabic poetry celebrated the history of the Arab people, the beauty of their land, and their way of life. Poets and singers from different tribes competed at gatherings held at the markets and during pilgrimages. Alright, so the main idea here is that there wasn't one governing body, but they were tied together through culture and language. Arabia didn't have one governing body, but were held together through common language and culture. Set this up a little bit so you can see it. Okay, and then finally we have our closing paragraph there. This was the culture into which Muhammad was born. Now let's turn to the story of how he founded one of the world's major religions. So that's a closing paragraph. I don't think it has anything necessary for my note-taking. It's really just a transition to the next section, so I don't feel like I need to write anything down. All right, so I've written down the main idea of each paragraph, and now I want to make some drawings. And again, these drawings are all about the process of me understanding it, not about the product. They don't need to be pretty. All right, so first one, Mecca, the birthplace of Islam, was a trading city. All right, so to me, what makes sense is I'm going to put a city at the center and maybe some arrows representing trade. So let's see. Draw a star. Wow, this is a 4 spike star. Whoops. Fifth one there. And this is Mecca. And I'm going to maybe draw some arrows. Somehow those arrows always need sound effects. And trade. All right, so again, this drawing makes sense to me. It helps me understand that it was a trading city. Maybe you see it differently and your drawing would look completely different, and that's totally fine. Mecca was a wealthy trading city ruled by the wealthiest clans and families. All right, so let's see. I don't know what I'm thinking here. Maybe a family that's on top of a hill of gold, right? Because they're the wealthy family and they're above everyone. And I'll use a symbol for money to represent. And draw some stick figure people here. Again, all about process. It's helped me understand it. Do not need to look pretty. We'll put smiley faces on them, right? And maybe even a crown to represent that they're ruling. And then we'll put some people down here. And we're going to give them some sad faces. All right. So there we go. Again, this represented here wealthy trading family, and that's the fact that they ruled over. Mecca was a religious center. People came from all over to pray to their many gods. Now, as you can see, this process is going to continue itself. I'm going to keep on going down, making drawings for each of it. I'm going to stop because I think you have the idea. Good luck with split screen reading notes. I hope you find it useful. And that's it from High 5 History.